is make sure that they can navigate those corners and be together. Now, I'm just wondering here from our broadcast house, if we are here looking at our Cadesport Thursday activities, physical equalization is at play, which means that you can more easily stay with the pack and not get dropped, because it's your effort, desire, and skill that make the difference, not just power. And you don't even have to enter your weight, which is something that I really like. In race number 1, we have a corner caper. So while it is active, you can't slide or crash into the corners, which is going to be very strategic on how our players use that today, whether they know the race course or whether they're going to need to use that corner caper. The other one that's at play is the Razor's Edge, and that is, while it's active, you can experience a greatly reduced air resistance. You're just slicing through the air, making yourself nice and narrow and arrow is like what I like to say, and we've got two of those for 20 seconds. So if I were a betting person, which I am, I'd be maybe counting the cards, what you say, to see what those folks are bringing. And then here we are out on course. You can see that the race is going to start in about 20 seconds. Here we've got a couple different views. We're on board with a couple different riders. You can see that these efforts are real. We got a rider there connected to their smart trainer, driving their avatar out of the gate. So here we go in 3, 2, 1. You can notice that riders list on the right hand side. Keep track of that. The first few seconds here out of the gate, you can see the avatars are transparent as the racers are jockeying for that front position, or maybe maybe they want to be second wheel out of the gate. I like to be second wheel, not first wheel. I just don't want to be left behind. We've got Frank head of the pack here with Erhan, Pedro, Christian, Vivica on board with right now. You can tell we're on board with Vivica. We've got that yellow highlighting across her name here, and you can see that as we move through here, this first little straightaway, we're going to see the pace kind of settle in as this group starts to form. You can see those avatars heading into the inside corner, deciding their line, making the best choice. These riders are steering. They are able to control their lane placement, which is really important to benefit from the draft, get around others, and stay nice and tight. So one of the things that I like to do in this race is kind of try to stay in the pack, try to avoid bumping the wheels in front of me, and really making sure that I'm in the place I want to be when things start to get a little dicey. So as we look through the riders list, some names will look familiar to you. You can see that you've got Christian in the front, Frank on his wheel, and Homer. Not surprised with those lead racers there, but this is a really smart and strategic pack. These are racers that are very experienced in Cadesport, and also, I know these folks are probably doing their homework on these. Oh, we got someone pulling off the front there. Is Erhan making a move? It looks like there's a little gap happening out there. Did he catch the rest of everyone sleeping? He dropped that Razor's Edge and really benefiting from the aero power here to make his break, leaving them in the dust. Erhan, you can see his heart rate, boom, up to 190. You can see the watts that he's giving, 780. Oh my gosh, he is still pounding on those pedals with those watts, mashing the watts, giving himself a little bit of distance. You can see he's left the group 8 and 9 seconds behind. So now on this race, you can see they're only 1.7 kilometers in. So can he hold it for 14.9 kilometers? That is the $1 million question. Can we actually hold that down? So if I'm Erhan, what I would be doing is I'd be like looking at my watts, looking at the speed differential. How fast am I going versus how fast this person behind me is going? So we've got Mark Allen here on his heel there, scratching his chin, saying, don't think you're getting away from me, Erhan. I know where you're going. Trying to dig in, trying to close that gap down a little bit, applying the power, applying the pressure, saying, you know what, Erhan, I've got the power of the group behind me. I can work together. We can group up, and Homer chops and drops the Razor's Edge and says, I'm not playing around anymore, Mark. Or maybe Mark and Homer had a little coalition and said, you know what, I'll give you a good lead out, and then you drop your power. And here we go. Now, did Erhan spend too much? Whoa, Vivica coming out of the gate like that tactic probably just coasted right up to the gap, closing the gap with the group, saving her power, and then just blasting on by. Vibeke takes the lead 2 seconds up the road there. Nicely done, Vibeke. I think that that's just a little bit of a master's class of some of the tactics that can be at play here in Cadesport. So it's not, this is a crit-like course here with all the turns, and there's Vibeke on camera, super focused. She's just laying it down, really setting a pace. Like right now, it looks like she's just putting a driving time trial pace on here to say, you know what, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to make you guys work, I'm going to see who has the legs to chase me down, come and get me if you can. And they've got people closing the gap. We've got Pedro, Homer, Frank, all kind of coming up behind, and a little bit stretched out behind them are the rest of the riders, Christian, Timothy, Irhan, and Mark. So we've got, now I don't think this group is going to split up. I think we're going to see more of it sort of come back together. But man, that's the kind of stuff I like to see, is when, you know, that tactic gets played early. We're not even 3 kilometers into this race, and my goodness, we just saw the razor's edge at play by both Erhan to get 8 seconds up the road. We saw Mark try to shut it down, and then we saw Vibeke just kind of like launch with hers and come right out of the edge. Now Homer's at the front with Pedro, Frank, and Timothy not far behind. So as I'm looking here, we've got Pedro there. You can see him on the front. You can see his speed, 44 kilometers. These guys are kind of settling into a pace, but he's adding some power down here, maybe trying to come to the front and settle the pace down a little bit after those tactics. So yeah, I'm not sure what his mindset is. Oh, Timothy says, no. I'll take a turn up front. I'll put the power down. I'll give you a little kick in the shins. That's what Timothy's doing. Timothy is a very smart racer. He will kick you in the shins, see what you got, see if you'll chase him down. And you know, one of the things about following his wheel, it's a strong wheel. There's Timothy right there. It's a strong wheel, but he also knows those corner speeds, and he can actually make some adjustments on the fly that are very accurate, like a surgeon, I would say, where he knows where to apply the brakes and he knows where to accelerate through a corner. So he's very strategic in that. And I've been on his wheel many a times when he literally takes me in. I'm trying to keep up with him, and then he slows down just a little bit so he doesn't crash, but I do, and he just sails off into the sunset. So buyer beware about that one. Okay, here we are. We're on board now with Christian at the front. We've got Frank, Timothy, Pedro, Vibeke still all here in a nice tight little bunch here. I'm sorry, Homer and Vibeke stood a little bit back on that break. That group did break up a little bit here. You can see on the riders list on the right-hand side there of we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 all together. We've got position 5, 6, 7 all pretty close together. If I were trying to shut this down, I'd either make a decision. If I was Homer, I'd consider bridging over now or dropping back and working with Vibeke, because it doesn't look like this front group is letting up anytime soon. So I wouldn't want to try to make any time up without having a little bit of help. So maybe if Vibeke and Homer can kind of get their act together with Tim Fulford and maybe pull that front back group and work together. And I also think I've seen Casey and Mark a little bit there in the second chase group there. If they can get coordinated and leapfrog, they've only got a 3 second to that chase group, so maybe that would be a good tactic there. So looks like we're settling in on the front, but that power, we're settling into a speed, but that power remains very, very high. These riders are not sailing off into the sunset. They know they've got people not that far back that can close the loop, so they have to keep that intensity on. Oh, Pedro makes a move, looks over his shoulder. Oh, sorry, that's Timothy Termont, looks over his shoulder, makes a little move, drops the power on the pedal. We saw him earlier on camera. You can see him working. You know that the power is real, and you know that, man, he is working. You can see 372 watts. You can see he's got a bigger speed differential, but no! Oh my gosh! Didn't apply the brakes when he needed to, who's the winner out of that pileup is Christian. Here's a replay. We've got Timothy Termont heading into the corner, just slides out, and then he brings a couple riders with him, and Christian can sail off into the sunset for the moment, because Timothy is not one to say, I am down for the count. I've only lost a couple seconds. I'm going to get quickly up to speed, and boom, Christian is on the front. So now Earlier in the broadcast, I said I was going to have my friend Doc Haskell join me today. Doc, I don't know if you're out there, but if you are, chime in at any time. I'm so happy to.
Should I come to the light? Should I approach the light?
Ah! Shut the front door! Hi, my friend.
Okay, okay. You got to catch me up here. What have I missed? I see a pair, apparently off the front. I see Frank actually ahead of Casey, chasing Homer. What have I missed?
You missed a lot, my friend. We had an early attack by Aaron when he dropped the Razor's edge and got a good 8-second lead. You saw that gap get closed up by a number of riders, Mark Allen, and they kind of regrouped. And then Vibeke came over the top, took the lead for a little bit, dropped back. Thought the three little groups were a little bit splintered. Thought they might come back together, but then it broke open to a lead chase and then a second chase group. And now what you're watching here is the benefit of wait, some people taking some action. I'll continue the story after. Casey Shum with a corner caper flies around the corner trying to close that gap to Christian, and Timothy is off the front after an earlier crash that he took a couple people down with. This action is nutso bananas, Chris.
Oh my goodness. Erhan in the back crashes again. Fulford on his side. That is never good. But using the corner caper, Casey gets a big advantage, drops Frank like a wet pancake, and is now chasing only a couple seconds, 1 second off this lead group. Perfectly timed by Casey.
Perfectly timed from Casey. And you know this, Doc, and I know this. Casey's a very big strategy player. Now, you see that little thumbs up there? There are emojis in the game where I call them Cade-mojis, where they can actually communicate to each other. Quite fun to do here. But now we've got this group of three. Now, I don't know about you, but this is like a group of assassins, right?
This is the escape group. No one's catching this. Pedro maybe with a chance to catch on the back, but Casey, if he does what he's supposed to, he will just sit in for just a little bit and look for another opportunity to take advantage. There is Pedro catching on. This is a group of four. I don't think anybody else is going to catch. Homer and Frank may be hanging on to each other for dear life. Tim may be trying to catch up to that group so he's not alone all day. But I am really surprised to see Erhan so far back after some of the heroics we've seen in previous weeks.
Yeah, 100%. Right now we're just almost halfway through this lap in this race. And, so anyone who wants to sort of make up that time, now is the time if they have any chance of closing up an 8 or 9 second gap. They've got to go now. And you can see that, Casey Shum off the front here is Timothy. Nope, Timothy's saying, no, you're not getting away. And I was saying earlier in the broadcast, they had 2 each of the power-ups, 2 corner capers and 2 of the Razor's Edge. So I'm doing a little card counting here with the tactics on Casey Shum.
+1, I think, is where we're at. If you look there, Casey's doing some work at 190 beats per minute, but Timothy, dead inside, decides to take a runner and takes off, uses that power-up to get away, and puts a huge gap on the other 2. No heart rate equals dead inside.
Yeah, dead inside. Well, I was saying Timothy was earlier. He made a little bit of a break, and he's a wheel that he can get away from you pretty darn fast with a number of tactics because he knows where to play them. He's not playing that Razor's Edge when he's coming to a tight corner. He's going to pick a nice straightaway where he knows he can make a break. He knows when to apply the brakes if those corners come up, and if someone does manage to catch on his wheel when he makes a break, he's able to sort of shake them off. He did make one mistake earlier, so he must be feeling pretty good about himself because he made a mistake. He was off the front. He crashed into the corner, took a couple people with him, and now he just kind of came right back. And that's what's kind of nice about the dynamics in gameplay, Doc, is that we're seeing sort of all these tactics where it's not like, oh, that's the winner, 5 minutes into the race. Anybody can have an opportunity because if Timothy crashes up front, he's going to lose those 2 seconds and give everyone an opportunity to shut it down a little closer.
A little over 7.5 kilometers left to go. A little under, actually. Almost 7 exactly. Casey catches up, but there's still an 11-second gap. Timothy, when we saw his camera, we could see he had that patented Timmy Drool going on there. He was doing the work. But they're closing it down. 9 seconds here. We're getting into that sketchy part of the course where he's got to play it very, very tactically right. Casey not panicking, just making sure that gap doesn't get too big. But down the line, Fulford now passes Garcia to the surprise maybe of Fulford. He was back quite a ways. Mark trailing as well. Are there any groups to rejoin and maybe do some work? Homer and Pedro, maybe. Tim Fulford trying to catch on to that group. He's got 5 more seconds to get there. He's doing the work to get there. But it looks like we've broken this down into a single, a pair. Oh! Double crash! Triple crash up ahead! What? What is happening? What? The chaos.
And then Tim seizes that opportunity, drops the corner caper, puts the power down, and is going to take advantage of those crashes to say, I was just biding my time. Frank wasn't getting it. And then Pedro and Timothy again, another crash. Tim knows the timing.
Oh, Tim goes down. Overcooks the corner. Pedro goes down. Oh, I love to see it. The carnage. It's why we're all here.
It is, and that's just sort of like 1 second. You mistime the corner caper, it lasts 20 seconds. If you overcook it and you run out of the power up, boom, you're down. But it looks like that Timothy Termont, no surprise, still in the front with all of that carnage, takes a look over the shoulder and says, okay, all right, what do I have to do to keep that 4-second lead? Christian's right behind me. Anything can happen right now. It's a tactician's game for Timothy right now.
And how far the great have fallen. Casey, with that crash, finds himself behind Homer and Christian, and there with Tim Fulford. That is embarrassment. If you're seated at that table, Fulford goes down again, and Timothy does too. That may be enough for Christian to catch up if he navigates these corners correctly and does not overcook them. They could be together for the end. A little less than 6 kilometers to go.
I would like to see this back and forth gameplay between Timothy and Christian. We've got Homer, Casey, and Pedro that could probably all kind of group up and get aligned and do some work together to fight out for third. But Homer's like,
Casey goes down again.
Engine. Oh my gosh! Oh, look at that! All right, so if Timothy and Christian get together, this might come down to a sprint if they both ride the rest of this course perfectly. What do you think the chances of that are?
Well, I don't know that anybody's. I think this is going to be who makes the biggest mistake last. I think that they could both.
That's a perfectly
both have
said.
A crash.
Oh, razor's edge, Timothy. Oh my gosh, Christian just comes around Timothy with the razor's edge arrow, and then Christian decides that he's going to drop his as well. Timothy, whoa.
Yeah, 5 kilometers left to go. I don't think Timothy has to worry at all. He just needs to wait for Christian to make a mistake, navigate that corner or those corners better than he did, and they will not get caught. But really the one who has the most to gain from the battle up front is Homer, who's actually in position, if he runs it clean, to be the one who wins this.
Yeah, we've seen that sometimes the position 3, 4, 5 ends up being the 1, 2, 3 in some particular order that way because the front folks are at that point the blood's gotten to their head and they are 100% cooked mentally and physically and sort of you fall apart, right? The train starts to come off the track with this type of racing.
Mm-hmm. Well, Fulford putting it back together a little bit, but he's finding himself behind Garcia. As we walk down the list, Casey has maybe given up in 7th place right now. Verbeek, they're in 8th place. Shaq, impressive to see Shaq here as well. And Erhan more than a minute behind at 9 and 10. This looks like Christian and Timothy's race if they can stay clean. Whoever, they both could crash, but you can't crash if the other guy doesn't crash. So that's your tactic.
That's right. And, one of the things as we're on board with these riders here and you look at it, you see them kind of going through the countryside and their legs are pedaling. Right now, they've got 400 watts, 600 watts. I mean, the watts that they were putting down around that, they're not cruising through the countryside here. They're working. Here we are on board with Tim.
Way too many smiles, Tim Fulford. Way too many smiles.
All right, we've got Pedro coming in here on Pedro leading Tim and Mark together, and you can see the riders down below there, featured in the little cutout there, taking a drink, wiping the sweat off his brow, just trying to make sure he can keep his eyes on the road is what I think. Fulford here putting down 900 watts, coming into the corner. Did he do too much? Maybe he's slowing it down just enough. You can see that speed come down to 40 kph. I don't know what that corner speed is, but these corners do have a max speed that if you overcook it, you will slide right out and lose a couple seconds and have to regain that speed. And I think it's not just the time that you're down on the ground recovering from a crash, it's sort of regaining that speed. All right, back on board with Timothy Tremont and Christian together as we predicted together. So I expect some games between these two turkeys.
Yeah, I saw Homer trying to slide in there in Casey Shum's child medium profile in the wind and was unable to really catch on there. Christian just kind of sitting comfortable at the front, not really crushing it. Oh, a crash cam! We love the crash cam. Here it is. Homer swings wide, and I love the ragdoll effect, just dropping down, then coasting back on your bike.
That's so. Homer is like a steam engine. He'll get right back on and finish strong, recover quickly from that. But no one, as you said, is going to probably catch Christian and Timothy unless there's a mistake. But you know who will be there to capitalize on it is Casey. Casey will be prepared right now, sitting in third.
Interesting swing over to the other side. Yeah, he swings over to the other side. Oh, he's just being cagey right there. It's like, you don't see me. I'm invisible.
You know, a lot of the riders these days, one of the developments in Cadesport too is that they can use their cell phone on their handlebars, and so if they're on rollers or if there's any sort of swing to their handlebars in their game control or at home on their bikes, that it slides out as well, which is kind of fun to see how they use that. They'll shake each other off so that they can't draft on the straightaways too. So 2 kilometers.
We're getting close here. Yeah, 2K to go. 2K to go. Christian in the lead, but he's got Timothy on his tail. If we get a camera view of Timothy, we might be able to see how dry his lips are. If he's still got drool, he's still got power. Fulford all alone in the hinterlands. Probably not going to catch on there. There's the drool cam. Love to see it. Timothy getting ready to go. Wants to climb to the front, but he's going to wait. Look at who has caught on to the back of this group.
You
secretly,
knew it, Casey.
Quietly. Yeah, that's right.
Never in a panic. Casey, calm. He was my race whisperer at one of the CV Arcade World Cup events, and he tells you when to put the power. He is literally the whisperer of the game here.
Yes.
Come down to ending 1.4. 1.4 kilometers to go. Look at the power that they're dropping.
Where do you think the big move is going to come? We've got a little bit of chaos left in the course here. A crash could still happen. This is not a straightaway.
Oh! We've got, there it is. Casey drops the corner caper in anticipation of the turns, and I wonder if he meant to do the razor's edge instead, but no.
I think he had to use it. I think he was sliding out, and I think he had to use it. I think this is earlier than he wanted to go.
But he's going to use it. He's like, well, that's what I've got. That's what I'm going to use. He gets a second up the road from Timothy, but Timothy's coming in hot.
Careful.
And he knows. Yeah, he knows they have to slow. Whoa! Tim Fulford,
you crazy one. Less than a half. Oh, this is so far out. 0.7 kilometers. He's going to have to just hammer it and hope that he's got no errors, but he's just throwing everything he's got back into it. Oh, my goodness. Chin in the lead, but that's not going to do enough.
And then he drops the razor's edge. Is it too late for Christian for Tim with that razor's edge of Christian coming around? He drops both of them, comes through the corner, holding those for the specific Christian, rounds the corner, tries to close it down. 3 seconds. Oh, my gosh.
Banner in view. And I don't think anybody's going to catch him 4 seconds back to Timothy. Not enough drool left in the tank. He's going to take it.
Wow. Okay. Like so much just happened, Timothy, because oh my gosh, so much happened in that last half a kilometer. Fulford comes over the top with what 7.7 kilometers to go. I don't know if we have any of that on replay, but that would be helpful because there were a lot of moves there. What did you see, Doc?
You know what? I saw a really gutsy move by Fulford. I think Casey had to use his corner caper to get him out of the slide that he was in. He was almost all the way across the road when that thing triggered, and so it looked like he had to use it before he was ready. It was still a kilometer out. And then Tim Fulford decided to get one of those sneaky breakaways, see if anybody go with him. But Christian still had one in his pocket and takes the win by 8 seconds over Timothy. And then Fulford himself in the third spot. Casey, oh, that's a terrible spot to be. That's the hold my jacket position as all your friends step up to the podium. Hey, will you hold our stuff real quick so we can step up on this podium?
Yeah,
sure. Sure, all right.
Yeah, but that was some crazy gameplay. I think that you identified there what, Casey had it in his sight. He could have had it. He probably used that a little sooner than he wanted. Tim recognizing Casey's mistake, knew where he was going to use his Timothy. And then I think out of nowhere, because I wasn't on board with Christian, so Christian just sort of must have had it laid out like a buffet in front of him and was sort of watching and responding and probably anticipating. And he took the race by 8 seconds, which is huge when they were all could have been anybody, any of those top 4 riders, or could have been any of their wins today.
It could have, and as they get ready for the next one, it's time for a little bit more chaos in the lineup. This one's going to be a crazy one. Short.
Cadesport Grand Prix. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, and it's 4 laps. It's 1.4 kilometers each lap. It's medium skill with tight turns, and the thing about these games is that they can be easy, complex, and then they have just a little bit of different strategy. A longer race like the one we just saw with twists and turns, it really allows the power to be displayed. And this one is going to be, even though it's also a medium skill, I think it's going to require a lot more brain work. But I think there'll be some learning on each subsequent lap. What the mistakes that you might see on the first lap, you certainly shouldn't be seeing by the second or third lap.
No, and really, you'd need to be thinking about the corners. You need to watch people ahead of you. It's almost okay to let people get out in front and just glue your eyes to the lineup so you can see what the heck is happening. If people are overcooking some of you can look at their KPH and where they crashed and go, okay, I'm going to go less than that. Okay,
absolutely, the education. Now,
everybody
no
goes
power-ups,
out.
Chris. No power-ups. Just so you
Okay.
know, all skill. Here we go. Out of the gate. They are semi-transparent avatars right now as everyone is fighting for position in that first little bit of the race here. And we've got Timothy Tremont out on front. Ben on his wheel, Casey, Christian, Frank. Will Timothy want to be out there and kind of show what he knows? This is what I was saying earlier in the race before you.
First crash. Ben goes down.
All right. Ben will have to get back up and brush himself off and start all over again here. But being behind Timothy, almost in case he goes down, boom. This is going to be just more red than yellow today.
Mm-hmm. Timothy just tapping out a nice, consistent pace. It looked like Casey got into the back of him, and that was part of why he went down. He was unable to actually travel out going as fast as he was. Oh, and Pedro goes down in the corner again. There it is.
Oh, yep.
That's the
cleanup
prominent lower lip of Timothy.
Yeah. Now this is where
he
shines. Yeah, he's got the race radio on. He knows right now that he's got someone 5 or 6 seconds back, but he goes down up to Tim. But this is still early in the race. We're not even one lap in here. We're almost 1 lap down. But a little bit of a hill, little kicker coming up out of the tunnel there. I like this course visually. I think it's I really want to I haven't raced this one, but this one looks super fun to race. Nighttime Cadesport. Homer Thompson biding his time.
Yes. just sitting in, just trying to get a rhythm of this course, because you do so many laps. 4 of them, you really just try to get in a rhythm and understand what's coming up. Timothy clearly understands the rhythm here, but he is only 1 crash away from being eclipsed by as many as 4 or 5 riders. So he's just got to tap out a nice, consistent one. Really struggling so far are Casey and Frank. I think they've had 2 crashes each. Ooh, nearly slid out there. And Bertram, everybody's
on board here.
Rider.
Yeah, Vibeke is focused, concentrating, and she learns. She's a mountain bike. I believe she does outside mountain bike racing, so she's a very tactical rider. I do it to you every time, Vibeke. I'm sorry. I start to say how, and then I like
Caster
not
curse.
make comments.
Caster curse.
So
You've done it, Vibeke. It's not your fault. It's Beth's fault. We all know it.
It's
Caster
my
curse.
fault. Yeah. Oh. So
yep, she's like,
Vibeke
please don't talk about
team.
me anymore.
Yes. Vibeke is on team with Timothy Termond, so she has got a great mind share of strategy there. I've raced with her. She's a former teammate of mine, love her to death. So she's fun to race with, and I'm sure her and Timothy are having chatting up and cursing my name at the moment. On board with Erhan here, nice and steady. Experienced in, I don't know if on this course, but experienced in Cadesport, very methodical.
That is a close camera. Maybe we can mount it to the glasses next time. I like it. Erhan.
Yeah.
Having success in the past in this type of race. If I remember correctly, a couple of weeks ago, won one of these very simple, I say very simple, but one of these types
simple
of courses.
For us because we don't have to ride them right now, Chris. That's why.
Yeah, it's real easy. It's real easy.
Oh, and this is all right. We're on here with Mark. Mark also is one of our co-commentators here during the game. We've worked together a number of times here. He knows the game. He knows the tactics. He knows the strategy. You can see him turning his wheel there, using the gyroscope within his cell phone here to operate his avatar to navigate this world. Make sure he's in the lane that he wants to be in. We're 2 down of 4 laps. We've only got 3.8 kilometers to go. But as you know, anything can happen. More crashes are happening all over the place as people navigate this Cadesport Grand Prix course in Cadesport.
So Timothy executing a simple strategy, heart rate, again, dead inside, which helps in one like this. But really, I mean, if you look at the variance in the power, knows when to back it off, knows when to kick it up, trying to get squeezing as much juice from that lemon as possible, and really getting a nice little advantage here. 10 seconds over Tim Fulford and Casey, who will in a mere moment crash. I'm going to predict it right now
because you said his name.
1 lap
because
to
you
go.
said his name. Yeah, because you said his name. That's why. Well, one of the things here when I'm looking at the riders list and I'm looking about where the riders apply power and when they're backing off on the power.
No!
See?
That's for a crash. Timothy goes down. Timothy goes down. We shouldn't have talked about him. Fulford trying to catch on here.
Yeah, and that speed differential too.
Second
what we're
crash
seeing here.
Timothy.
Whoa! Oh boy, both now Timothy and Vibeke are both cursing both of our names, Doc. That's what's happening here. He does maintain a 3-second lead, so he can't afford to make any more mistakes with Casey right behind him.
Nope, you don't want Casey right behind you. If he gets in front of you, it's like trying to draft a pencil. It just does not count.
Draft a pencil. I'm stealing that line, my friend.
In fact, well, and oh no, he goes down and Casey
and
goes
the pencil goes off the bike.
Yep. That's what happens when you buy your kit from Build-A-Bear Workshop, Casey. You need other clothes. So, Timothy, and Tim Fulford trying to catch on, but goes down again. He's going to drop a spot to Casey. They're getting so close to the finish here. 2.2 kilometers, about to enter this final lap. And Timothy, if he can just stay steady and not make that mistake again, should be able to come away with this. Ghost riders as they get lapped here.
Yeah,
Pedro
and he knows
Ben
again.
goes
You
down
can.
again.
Oh, geez. You look at the course map and you look at where all the riders are on the map. You can see there are a couple straightaways where you can really, put on the power and make up some time on course, but you really got to slow it down for the hairpin turns. And that's what these riders need to look at. And that's what's so incredibly infuriating, because it doesn't matter that you were perfect on the last 5 turns. If you miss it on the next one, all of that work could be for naught. So this is one of the things that when I'm racing these types of courses with these riders, it is so emotional. It is so like you just feel it, and it's hard to hold back sometimes on these corners because you just get so close to shutting it down. On board with Ben here, also a teammate of Timothy Tremont and Vibeke, and they definitely will have some strategy overall as a team. There he goes, adds a little bit of power, comes around and says, okay, Tim's up the road. I can catch him.
You know what's been great about being able to see the cameras of these fantastic riders, Pedro, Erhan, Vibeke, is that I've been able to learn curse words in other languages, in Danish, in Spanish, and of course in Turkish. You have to read the lips closely and go, I think I know what they said. But yeah, the curse words in other languages, when they crash, are a whole new character of bike racing. Ooh, nice save,
yeah. Oh, that was a nice save. Oh, Tim goes down. We're on board here with Casey. He's just 2 seconds back from Timothy Tremont. This is where you taste it. This is where Casey has to be. I cursed him.
Yep.
I cursed him.
Curse.
That's my fault. Sorry, Casey.
He was gonna crash into that child-sized corner anyway.
Okay, then I won't take credit for that crash. Okay, so no. Timothy Tremont still out in front, now 9 seconds. We've got 0.9 kilometers to go. With that much of a lead, with Casey, 5 seconds back, I even more careful and methodical. So he's got to get his heart rate to a place, but it's dead, is to a place where he can actually make great choices here towards the end of the race. No mistakes.
And Casey's really working these corners really well. I mean, he's been doing on average, 5 to 7 kph faster than Timothy, and closed down what was a 10-second gap into this one. Oh, and really backs it off. Actually hits the brakes before that corner, Casey does, and really cranks it back. He's closed it into 1 second here.
This is a revenge for the last race. This is him saying, you know what, I made a mistake in the last race. I'm not going to make it in this race. I've made a couple crashes. They're not going to kill me. Right now, it all comes down to this last 2 kilometers here for Casey and Tim.
Oh, the wide corner.
Oh, comes around on the corner.
Nice.
That was so thin. He sees it.
The sprint.
Will he
Here we go. It looks like, I think he will. Casey.
Oh, they're side by side.
Yep. By a nose.
Too close to call. By a nose.
And
that was insane how close that was.
Yep,
better eyes than me, Doc. I couldn't see it. It looked tied to me.
It did look pretty tied. It's still showing.
Yes.
Well, and it showed when they came across. It looked like Timothy had gotten
just by a nose.
The tip of the wheel. Yep. But
don't blink or you'll miss it. We've got Ben for that 3rd position here, coming across the line here. Yep, little bit of clap there. You can see Homer coming in 4th. The hold my drink and Chris back there. But this is a fun course. This is a really fun course. And, I think what you have to do going into it is like, whoop, still going down, is know you're going to have some crashes coming around. Is he going to pass? It's the camera. Sorry about that. Yeah. You just have to go in knowing you're going to have a couple crashes and kind of control your reaction to that and not panic, right? Because one crash, other people are going to make mistakes too. So you have to accept your mistakes and kind of hit a reset button mentally,
Yeah, when skill is evened out, then it is the little decisions that make the biggest difference. So Timothy tapping out a pretty consistent pace. He had one crash that I saw, but everything else was like right within that envelope of strong exertion, but he wasn't taking big risks, and it allowed him to grow a lead, and then it got pulled back a little. That's fine. And then he grew a little bit more, and then it pulled back a little bit. He didn't worry about that. He waited till the sprint at the end, and he won it by 15 hundredths. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And like I said, that was Casey really saying, like, I'm going to get there. And he played his heart out and he raced his heart out. Tim in third, Ben, Homer, Christian, Frank, Shaka-laka-laka. I like to say that. Vivica is just fun. Pedro and Erhan. Great work here on race 2. These riders are going to go on to ride 3, echelon course here, the sci-fi map, and just for a little cool down. And I imagine, Doc, some trash talking might be happening on the in-game comms after those 2 races.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's what Casey's all about. His go-to for trash talk.
Yeah, and I think it's a fun. Everyone's heart rate settles down. Everyone talks about what they did, what they learned. Maybe they've captured some secrets that they won't share, but they will have some fun in their team debriefs and also sort of as a group at the end of it. But that wraps up our racing and riding today on Cadesport. Chris, I'm so glad that you were able to join on the broadcast.
Heck yeah!
Today. Pleasure hearing your voice out there. You can
Yours?
see they're warming up. Yeah. Aw. And I don't think we always will stick with the cool down here, but we'll talk about what we see in front of us. Sometimes we stay on the cool down and chat about the racing ourselves as commentators, and sometimes we will say goodbye. But it looks like we're still broadcasting, so.
It does. Erhan saying, I felt like I was really underperforming in the last one, so I'm going to do a little work on this one. And this is what is exciting to me as we get closer and closer to World Cup time. We're starting to see where people's hearts are. And there are some very competitive individuals in this group. Fulford, who we know well, and Casey, who we've spent a lot of time with. Vivica, and these are some competitive folks. Oh, Frank Garcia, one of the most competitive of all. They're getting ready for this World Cup. It's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be fantastic, and I think that this is going to be a World Cup coming up like no other because of the development that's been going on in the game, and just sort of the gameplay and the physics and all of the things that just the principles of the game, and really being dialed in, and all of these races leading up to the World Cup. There's just going to be so much education and experience brought in. And as you said, super competitive folks. Look they're on the cool down and they're just like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you.
This is my favorite. That's right. This is my time where afterwards Frank would tell me all of the mistakes I made and when I should have put more power on. And, meanwhile, my heart was exploding and my legs were dead. But he was absolutely right about, the tactic. And so I go to school and take some notes here. This is a really, really fun. These sci-fi courses are really fun. It looks like they've added a lot of embellishments since the last time that I've been on it, graphically, and it's looking really, really, really sharp here.
Yeah, the lighting colliders are looking pretty fantastic the colliders and the lighting, and it's just looking really, really clean. The materials, and as somebody who spends a little bit too much time in Unreal Engine and those types of things, that it's fun to see that work, and what a great effect in the background there.
Yeah, and so they have the in-game communication, the in-game cameras. So you can see on the lower left there that's their internal comm, so they can talk to each other, see each other, and then they also have different channels, so you can be in communication with your team during the races, and then come back to the whole pie and talk to everybody, and really kind of engage. And I think that one of the things that's the most fun about this, in-game racing is being able to sort of share and have that community around it. And, this really fosters it so that you're not, you don't have to be having different apps running all at the same time. It's all sort of inclusive into one sort of ecosystem so that you can really enjoy the experience fully. So this is the Pedro, one of the racers that's been pretty consistently coming out there. I haven't raced with Pedro myself, but I'm taking notes, Pedro. So I know.
Yeah.
Really, really, really fun to see some of these new names out on course.
Yeah, and I was thinking it's been a little over 5 years since we had the opportunity to call the last in-person CVR World Cup in Vancouver, British Columbia.
It both feels like yesterday and 20 years ago.
Exactly,
we have those dog years to account for called COVID,
Boy, that's the truth.
which we don't know he or she who shall not be named henceforth. But those years kind of are a little bit of a time warp here. But yeah, 5 years sounds about right. So it's about time we got together and did another CVR World Cup.
I know. Oh no! Double crash in that corner there. Not using the corner caper, but Timothy is trying to sprint around there and actually stay in front. Wow, impressive.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing here too is that if these racers just came off that Cadesport Grand Prix race and maybe they want to try different little tactics, like how much brakes and when do I apply it going into a corner. This is a very great course for that because you've got 2 long straightaways where you can get up a lot of speed. You can figure out where you want to activate your power-ups and practice that braking, so when you don't have a power-up that you know how to enter the turn cleanly and when to apply that power accelerating out of the turn. That's the mistake I always make, Chris, is I always accelerate a little too early, and it's something that it's likely to it's a learned skill, and it depends on how fast you were going into the corner and coming out of the corner. So I think they use these cool downs also to experiment with some of those tactics and apply some of the mistakes and learn from them.
Well, Tim passes Ben. Oh, and he's got a corner caper in there, so he's going to be both of them are going to be able to hold it, and he takes that win. The double sneaky finish line right there. Tim steals one. Steals the cooldown race. I was always really good at stealing the cooldown race.
The cooldown race, yeah.
And
one
everybody's
thing that
cooling down, and I sprint for a sign anyway.
It's like, yoo-hoo! Yeah, I know. Okay. That's because we're all competitors at heart. One of the things about the way this ride was configured, just to let you know, is that we had, 2 corner capers for the whole duration, but there was a comeback kid with a refill. So after a certain duration, it will refill. So that's one of those things, too, that is also a strategy that's at play in any of these races, is when those refills will happen and whether it's a limited number or if you're going to get a supply and when you'll get the refill and making sure you use it so you can maximize your refills, basically. So, well, this screen means race 3 has been wrapped up, which was a ride, and maybe they were having some side bets about who was going to take this that we weren't aware of, but that's the way they crossed the line. It was more of a cool down than a race, but some of them were experimenting with tactics, and I think this is starting to be the end of this broadcast, Chris.
I think so. Well, impressive stuff. There are your podiums. Not visible in that is the number of times Casey Shum was standing right next to that podium. But it's good to see.
Yeah, we're gonna get a crash counter. Let's talk to that Frank about a crash counter. That'll be a fun stat.
Well, by my my quick math here, Timothy in first place, and hey Beth, and Tim Fulford in second.
Yes.
Overall.
Yes. Well, overall. Well, that was a great race, and I can't believe it's been 5 years since we were in Vancouver together.
That's crazy.
Crazy cuckoo bananas, but I know that you've been busy building out all of the esports stuff there in Boise. Congratulations on all that good stuff.
It's the greatest scam I've ever perpetrated.
And so is this, really. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So, great racing, great being out there on course. We had the Cycling in the City, the Cadesport Grand Prix, and then finished up on Echelon. And want to do this again? Want to hang out again, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. It's always fun to hang out with you.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I'm Beth York and my friend Doc Haskell here. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
See ya.